The Dungeon Master Experience is a series of articles written by Chris Perkins in Dungeon Magazine in 2011. The following readings are his words, and though produced before the current edition, still contains great insights, advice, and tips for Dungeon Masters for any edition, and for that matter, any TTRPG. Catapult, 11/3/2011, Wednesday night. In a previous session, the heroes captured the apprentice of their nemesis, Star-Lord Evandor, and agreed to trade her for several prisoners in the clutches of Mind Flayers. The prisoner exchange was going swimmingly until the Illithid's sudden but inevitable betrayal, and although the heroes ultimately kicked ass, there were three uh-oh moments when things went from bad to worse. The first uh-oh moment happened when reinforcements arrived in the form of a beholder named King Zorb. The beholder arrived via Far Realm portal, cried out, "Kneel before Zorb," and began shooting eye rays at everyone. The second uh-oh moment quickly followed when the beholder disintegrated Chris Young's character, Diamos. The third and final uh-oh moment occurred near the end of the fight, when Matt Smith's character, Geralt, grabbed King Zorb by the eye stalks and catapulted himself through the Far Realm portal, dragging the beholder with him. As they say in Hollywood, what an exit. And that's the story of how Geralt, the dim-witted human fighter, was devoured by the Far Realm. Most players would think twice about hurling their character into the Far Realm, even if it meant saving another party member's life. But Matt doesn't play a smart character, and sometimes he has Geralt do things that don't make a lot of sense, except, of course, to Geralt. Not surprisingly, Geralt has died and been raised from the dead many times over the course of the campaign. But this time, there's nothing to raise. His body's lost. Over the past 4 years, Geralt never really evolved much at all. In fact, while I pride myself on creating interesting growth opportunities for characters, I was pretty much at a loss when it came to thinking of good Geralt-centric episodes and adventures. Matt played him so dumb that no NPC could communicate intelligently with him, and Geralt had no attachments. Even his companions didn't pay much attention to him outside of combat. Geralt didn't even have a last name, or if he did, it never came up in play. He was like a coat rack with no hooks. There wasn't much to hang a story on. I also got the impression that after nearly 4 years of playing the same character, Matt was willing to throw Geralt on a limb just to see if it broke. Put another way, I don't think Matt would be surprised or horribly depressed if Geralt never returned. I, on the other hand, am unwilling to let Geralt go. Maybe it's because I feel like I failed the character somehow. More likely, it's because Matt's decision to hurl Geralt into the maddening void should be lauded and rewarded. If Geralt is well and truly dead, then the lesson to be learned from his actions is don't hurl your character into the Far Realm. However, I think it's more fun to tell players you never know what'll happen when you hurl your character into the Far Realm. Or put another way, if you're willing to take risks with your character, you might be pleasantly surprised by the outcome. When it comes to building encounters, I have no qualms about layering on adversity to the point where the players feel overwhelmed. I love having enemy reinforcements arrive just when things are starting to look up. I'm also happy to give players lengths of rope with which to hang proverbial nooses around their own characters' necks. However, before you accuse me of being cruel, note that my intentions are good. The goal, as I've said before, isn't to annihilate the party, no. The goal is to reward the players for taking risks. I tend to think of characters as chandelier bait, which is to say that if I hang a chandelier from the ceiling, I expect at some point during the encounter a character will either A, swing from it, or B, drop it on someone. The chandelier baits players into taking risks and making decisions they wouldn't otherwise consider. In Geralt's case, King Zorb's Far Realm portal was the chandelier. It's a plot device that can be used to catapult the campaign forward. Speaking of catapults, there's something about Geralt that I almost forgot to mention, a seemingly inconsequential bit of character development instigated by Matt many years ago. Back when the heroes were looking to buy a magical catapult for their ship, Matt decided that Geralt was fascinated by catapults. He even went as far as to procure a miniature catapult that Geralt would carry around with him and play with while his companions were doing boring stuff, like obtaining quests and forging alliances. This utterly marvelous bit of nonsense became a running character gag. At some point, I expected the gag to pay off with Geralt firing himself out of a catapult or something equally ludicrous. After debating whether or not to bring Geralt back, I finally decided to create a campaign episode set in the Far Realm. The adventure begins with Geralt plunging into Tirken Bay and finding himself on the island of Kath, where the campaign began. The island and its inhabitants are constructs of the Far Realm, familiar to Geralt, but distorted by the plane's malign interpretation of his memories and his rather dim-witted view of the world. More importantly, all of Geralt's adventuring companions are there, including old characters who've been dead for many levels. The other players get to bring back some of their old characters to help Geralt escape from this nightmarish realm using the villain's giant catapult, because in his childlike mind, that's how Geralt would escape the Far Realm. Not only that, the players get to fight Star-Lord Evandor for the first time in the campaign, or rather, an effigy of him, created by the Far Realm, and learn some of his dark secrets. Lessons learned. As a DM, if I'm going to create moments of seemingly insurmountable adversity, I also need to create moments of opportunity and be prepared for when my players attempt crazy-ass stunts. Although I'm well known for my elaborate schemes and plot twists, some of the most memorable and decisive moments of the campaign happened because of something the players did. I think it behooves every DM to remember that the players have a stake in determining how the campaign unfolds, and the best campaigns are inspired and propelled by the characters' actions and decisions. So to summarize, 1. It's the DM's job to create situations that encourage players to take risks, and 2. It's the DM's job to let players know that with great risk comes great reward. Until the next encounter. Also, don't forget to follow the link in the description to pick up my first ever adventure and setting for free on Patreon and DriveThruRPG now. Dive into the desert region of Gondolar as adventurers making their way to the budding city town of Silt Pass in search of gold, glory, and answers to the secrets of a long-lost empire. In this first adventure, your heroes will defend the Dune Dancer, a sandcutter airship from a legendary group of bandits known as the Stormbringers. Do you have what it takes to stop the Stormbringers and their bombastic leader Tharok, or will you make a deal with the devil of the sands and join them? Decide your destiny in the first of 6 adventures. TSI, Tharok, Stormbringer, Iron Mane.